What is Cbet tendency in poker? Imagine you're at the poker table and you raise before the flop. After the flop comes out, do you keep betting or do you slow down? That choice is what we call the continuation bet tendency. It's all about how often a player keeps the pressure on after starting the betting before the flop. When someone makes a bet on the flop after raising pre-flop, regardless of whether their hand improved, that's a continuation bet. Knowing how often they do this helps you figure out their overall style and what they might be holding. A continuation bet is mainly used to stay aggressive and try to win the pot right then and there. Sometimes players do it with strong hands to build the pot, and other times they use it as a bluff to make opponents fold. The tendency to Cbet is usually shown as a percentage, like how many times they make that bet out of all the chances they get. For example, if a player Cbet on the flop 70% of the time, they are quite aggressive. If they only Cbet 30%, they are more cautious or selective. Good players balance their Cbet frequency. They might bet around 2/3 of the time on the flop with their strong hands and check about 1/3 of the time. This mix keeps opponents guessing because they can't tell if the player has a monster or is just bluffing. Weaker players tend to Cbet almost every time, often close to 100%, which makes them predictable and easier to exploit. Understanding opponent tendencies means paying attention to how often they fold to Cbets. If an opponent folds more than 60% of the time when faced with a Cbet, bluffing becomes more profitable. But if they rarely fold, you should be more careful with your bluffs and focus on value betting. Sometimes players double barrel, meaning they bet again on the turn after a flop Cbet to put more pressure on opponents. Watching your own Cbet tendencies is just as important. If you always bet with your strong hands and never bluff, opponents will catch on. Balancing your Cbet frequency keeps your play unpredictable. When you're in position, it's easier to bluff because you see what your opponent does first. Out of position, it's better to be more selective, betting only with your best hands or strong draws. In the end, Cbet tendency is about how often you keep the aggression going after the pre-flop raise. Knowing your opponent's habits and adjusting your strategy accordingly makes you a smarter player. It's a key part of reading opponents and staying one step ahead at the table.